What's going on, guys? Looks like the holidays are almost here, and I'm getting ready with these decorations. Okay, it doesn't look like much at the moment, but I swear it's gonna be so much more. Like it or not, I care about the holidays, and I care about this place, just as much as someone might care about you. And I know for a fact someone cares about you, because if no one did, then the PS5 Spider-Mans would look like this.
We don't want to live in that hell. Video games are a delicate thing. If a video game flops, it's like having a divorce. Video games need to be made by people who actually care about their product. If they're releasing it just to make a quick buck, it's never going to be good, ever. If a game is made by passionate people, it's guaranteed to be better in almost every way. The developers will take time to fix the bugs, polish the gameplay, make substantial content for the game. Some of the simplest things can be enough to tell that the devs care about their game or franchise. Remember Mario Party 1? The party game that ruined friendships and was the literal definition of chaos? That game had poor balancing across the board. People could lose coins for existing wrong. Chance type could pull a 180 on whoever is winning, and the game screws you over constantly. Now that chaos is what makes people love this game so much, but that still doesn't excuse the fact that many people now have holes in their hands because of this game. A good portion of the minigames revolved around rotating the analog stick. The best method to do this was with your palm. It wasn't even a method we came up with. The people in the commercials were doing it. Nowadays it wouldn't be too bad because the sticks have rubber on them, but the N64 controllers had hard plastic analog sticks, and let's just say it wasn't pleasant. Doing this method was like putting a drill to your hand. The developer Hudson Soft had to release a sequel fast, as the current one was causing lawsuits. 1 year later, we got Mario Party 2. This game is mostly considered the best in the franchise, which is funny because this was supposed to be a chaos-less version of 1, but the devs made this game so well. The developers could have half-assed this so easily. They could have just removed all the minigames where you rotate the analog stick and that's it. But instead they decided to dissect the core of Mario Party 1 and make it better. The gameplay is still the same concept, but with many improvements. The boards to play are all brand new and far more complex and interesting. The gameplay is better balanced. This was the first Mario Party to introduce items, a massive staple for all Mario Party games going forward. And the game just had so many quality of life improvements. Any flaws with the games can be narrowed down to the fact that this game was made in less than a year. It's honestly astonishing how fast and how well Hudson Soft made this game. And if you still want chaos, just play the minigame Crazy Cutters. It will do the job just fine.
Can I go back?
I'm pretty happy with mine.
Oh god. Well, Donkey Kong's kind of ass too.
Oh,
What? How did I beat Donkey Kong?
Oh, yeah.
Look at mine! Look at mine!
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my god, actually, yeah, what the
Woo!
god, like, you
Makes
want,
sense
you want a
to
little,
me.
You want a little sauce?
I was 4!
Makes sense to me.
And with a game like Mario Party 2, you could tell that the developers wanted people to enjoy this game and have the best time. But what about the few developers that took their games further? What about the ones that actually cared about you? Ever heard of Spider-Man? Ever heard of Spider-Man from Insomniac Games? Ever heard of Third Thing Here? The Insomniac Games Spider-Mans are one of the first things that come to mind when games from caring developers come into play. I should know, says the guy who never played them. These games are phenomenal, says the people that play it. The good controls, good story, so many quality of life improvements, the realism. Supposedly the devs took several pictures of New York and used those as basis to try and make New York as accurate as possible. That's a lot of work for a game, and it goes to show you how much the devs cared about the game. Would you really do this much work for a shovelware game? Not to mention the constant fan service and the hundreds of Easter eggs to find. It's pretty understandable why so many people love these games. These games have spirit, and that means... Oh, that reminds me! The holidays are coming up, I gotta get decorating!
After 5 minutes of decorating, welcome to my festive home. We got this candy cane rocket right here, with some ornaments, a backdrop. Couldn't ask for a better backdrop in my opinion. We got Randolph, the red-skinned reindeer, for top tier Christmas spirit. Unfortunately I couldn't find a Santa hat, so I had to sell this fedora. I figured it would still make me look more fancy. While I was not able to find a Santa hat, I was able to find self-defense. I'm not letting anybody steal my presents this year. So overall, I say I'm a top tier decorator. I didn't disappoint. That's something that cannot be said with Duke Nukem Forever.
It's safe to say everyone wants something at some point. That doesn't mean you should always get it. Duke Nukem was a popular video game franchise throughout the 90s. It was a video game franchise right up there with Doom. Duke Nukem 3D was the last game to release in the 90s, but there were news about a fourth game in the works, labeled Duke Nukem Forever. At first it seemed like production was going at a smooth pace, until it wasn't. Duke Nukem Forever suffered from evolution. The gaming community was entering its next stage from the 5th generation into the 6th, which meant they had to develop the game properly if it wanted to compete with original Xbox and PlayStation 2 games. And at that point, the 4th Duke Nukem game was already beginning to look outdated, as it ran on a similar engine to Duke Nukem 3D. The developers saw this and tried to fix it. In 2001, the developer 3D Realms announced that the game would be switching engines from Quake 2 to the Unreal Engine. This meant that the game had to be put back to the drawing board so they could rework the game to operate in that engine. Well hey, at least the game won't look outdated anymore, son of a bitch! Only 2 years later, the game was completely scrapped and developers started over from scratch. Okay, maybe the 2001 version wasn't showing any promise. Maybe this new version will be better. Never mind. 3 years later, the devs started over again! Come on, guys! And it only gets worse from here. By this point, the employees at 3D Realms were starting to get pissed off, with a good chunk of them leaving the company entirely. Then after several lawsuits, company shutdowns, and getting bought out by Gearbox Softwares, the game was finally getting some traction. That doesn't mean the new devs cared too much though. By 2009, the devs just wanted to get the game out and over with, and you could tell that it wasn't going to be perfect. Damn, I only said not perfect, not a f***ing 49. The devs definitely tried to make this game as faithful to the original games as possible, but they didn't deliver right. By the time this released, most of the crude humor left in the first 3 titles was very outdated, and didn't help this game much at all. Not to mention the fact that the gameplay looked highly mediocre. It's fair to say that this game didn't survive development hell without permanent injury. The devs remembered how to make a sequel to Duke Nukem 3D, but they certainly forgot how to keep up with the crowd. Duke Nukem Forever tried to keep up with the growing gaming community, and in an ironic turn of events, came out feeling more outdated than ever. But I honestly think that the game could have been much worse. The fact that the devs tried to keep the game alive for that long definitely shows their determination. If the devs didn't care if we got more Duke Nukem or not, they would have probably abandoned the game by 2006. But they kept going, and even though it came out poorly, it was still a surprisingly faithful sequel. Just a faithful sequel that came out too late.
While not every game is a winner, there's always a chance that you'll find a game that was everything you ever wanted. It could come from a company that genuinely cares about their fans. And honestly, you couldn't ask for a better present from someone. Oh, which reminds me, I haven't opened my present yet. Perfect. Now I need to collect the first 31 movies.